Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joel Kellen. I am wearing my Friday shirt once again. And tonight I'm going to be reviewing the movie Pearl. I'm pretty sure I haven't actually done a full review of its predecessor X. So I'm just going to give my quick thoughts about that film. So when I first heard about X being basically like A24's version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday the 13th, I instantly wanted to see it. Unfortunately, at least to my knowledge, it was only playing in select theaters at the time, so I didn't get to see it then. I ended up seeing it about a month or two later when it finally came out on DVD, and even then I had to order it from Amazon. And when I finally did get to see it, I loved it. I thought it was a fresh take on the slasher genre, where the slashers were an old couple, and the whole plot revolved around a group of kids wanting to shoot a porno, and they're using an old couple's farm to shoot it at. Well, the old couple are kind of jealous of their youth, so they go and just kill everyone there. And I thought that was a pretty unique way of telling out the story, and even delve into the themes of youthfulness and kind of also, in my opinion, getting bitter as you get older, because you lose you lose your looks, and you kind of get jealous of people who are younger than you, or at least that's the message that I got out of it. So all in all, X was really good, and then I was also really excited when I found out that there was going to be a prequel to it called Pearl, which was going to center around the old woman back when she was the age of the main lead. So getting into this, when I originally saw the trailer, I thought that this was going to quickly go into a slasher direction, which it didn't. If I could describe X as being Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a twist, then I can probably describe Pearl as being, I guess to put it this way, The Wizard of Oz, but if Dorothy never got sucked up by a tornado, and she just went crazy, because they definitely pulled from that, because all the text in the opening titles and the end credits, they're all done in that really old school text that you originally see from the old films, like The Wizard of Oz, or even the noir films. The colors really pop out, because I think the very first movies were shot in Technicolor, so the colors are really, really bright. Think of when Dorothy first lands in Oz, and the colors are just so vibrant and everything. That's kind of the look that they were going for with Pearl. And even during nighttime scenes, or interior shots, where there's harsh shadows, the color still pops out, which just makes the film look beautiful. The characters themselves, the only one that you really gotta pay attention to is Pearl. Everyone else, I'll be honest, I couldn't even remember the names of Pearl's father, mother, and the guy who's a projectionist who originally showed her what I want to say is one of the earliest porno films, which I think they call a stag film in the story. I'm not too I don't even remember that guy's name. I think it was Johnny, though. And then the only other kind of character who excuse me, who I really remembered was Mitzi, who is the sister-in-law. But the whole story, it's not exactly just a slasher. It kind of really shows Pearl's descent into madness, kind of. I mean, they hinted at early on in the story that that she got her start by killing smaller animals, right? Well, and everyone knows that like a psychopath like gets his start by like killing small animals or just animals in general. Um, but as the film went on, like it began to actually like show a more show mm, show Pearl's like more psychotic side, where like she ends up killing the projectionist. She kills her mother and her father. Speaking of that, they did a fire stunt with Pearl's mother where she got lit on fire, and like that wasn't something I was. Well, I mean they already hinted at it, but I definitely wasn't expecting the fire to go up like that fast and like in like a kind of like a spectacular display. But that was a really cool way that they shot that. Um, the father is sick of a disease where he is more or less brain dead, or at the very least like a paraplegic. But I'm just gonna go with I'm brain dead because he can't even talk. And like basically I can't remember. I don't even know the actor who played him, but like he played that guy to a T. Like for a guy without speaking anything, like you can see the emotion on his face. Like basically every time that Pearl walks in the room, like especially after he realizes what she's going to do to him, like you can see the fear in his face, and like you can see his entire body like shaking, even though he cannot move himself. Like I don't know, whoever that guy is, like he did a great job acting. Uh, Pearl herself, played by Mia Goth, does a great job portraying like a girl who eventually goes crazy. Um, I am a little bit curious on like if they're ever going to explain like why she and Maxine look exactly alike. I mean, I know that they're played by the exact same actor in both X and Pearl, and eventually the third film, Maxine, which, by the way, this film does tease the third movie, Maxine, spelled with three X's in it. But I just think it'll be a little bit weird if like they never explain like how the heck did these two people look exactly alike, unless if they find out that like Maxine is like Pearl's granddaughter, in which case like a lot of those scenes between Pearl and Maxine like make it even weirder than it already was. But anyway, so but Mia Goth does a great job playing as just Pearl and only Pearl this time around. Turns out she also helped write the story with the director Ty West. Um, the music was great. Like most of the music was also very old school, like just reminiscent of movies like The Wizard of Oz. Speaking of The Wizard of Oz, there was this really funny like recurring callback to to Pearl always like riding a bike around, and it looks it's almost the exact same bike that that the mean old lady rode in the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, the one who was trying to take Toto away. And she's also the one who like eventually becomes the Wicked Witch of the West when Dorothy finally lands in Oz. But that was always funny. There's a segment with Scarecrow and Pearl, which uh, gets a little bit sexual. I'm not sure if that's a spoiler, but it's definitely a little bit weird. But I guess it's something I should have expected from this, given to how X went. Um, Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised that that Pearl didn't even go further with a few other scenes, especially like with her mother and her father. But the film overall was really great. It really did feel like a throwback to like the old like Wizard of Oz film, because you can definitely see the influence in there. And like I guess the greatest thing that I like about this film that I think that like Hollywood in general should do is like so there's this one saying that I've always heard about like filmmaking where people want like new but different. Like when you pitch something to a film company or a producer, they say like, "Give me the same thing but different," and ultimately like that kind of goes back to the whole thing about like Hollywood is running out of ideas and like it as much as I want to agree like uh I mean it's not entirely the studio's fault because like people always say like they want stuff that's new and original but then like when they get it it's like they don't like it, which to be fair some of it works some of it doesn't. Like I guess the biggest example I could give is like these last Star Wars movies. I mean, as much as I don't care for The Last Jedi, I will at least respect Rian Johnson for attempting to do something different. It just didn't work out, right? Um, or like the other, no, or well, one of my favorite movies of all time is Dread from 2012, the one that stars Carl Urban. That one bombed at the box office. If I remember correctly, it only got $1 million more than its budget back. But that one was very different than a lot of action movies that was coming out. Like it came out in the same year as The Avengers and The Dark Knight Rises, but people didn't want to see it most likely because the Sylvester Stallone film like gave everyone a bad taste that was just left there. And then there's the fact that like it was being marketed in 3D and well, I mean, let's be honest, at that time like 3D was kind of a gimmick. It is what it is. So so yes, Hollywood is running out of ideas. I mean, I just made a video just the other day about that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey trailer, but it's also not entirely their fault because us, the viewers, like we don't want to see something completely new. We want to see things that we're familiar with. I mean, that's why we got 3 new Star Wars movies. That's why we're still getting Marvel. That's why like Batman has been rebooted like what 5 times now. What's he on? His 7th actor, 8th, something like that. But uh, but anyway, so sorry for that whole tirade. But going back to Pearl, that really kind of goes back to what I was saying though, because like if there was any instance of like something similar but different, then this and X were definitely that because like I said, this movie was basically like an R-rated version of Wizard of Oz if things were done slightly differently. Same thing with X, like it's basically Friday the 13th and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre rolled into one, but they still give like a unique it still gives a unique plot to it. And same thing with Pearl. I'm expecting it to be the same with Maxine. Otherwise, then the filmmakers on that are gonna just let everyone down. But that's what I appreciate about films like this. Like even the Chucky movies, another one of my favorite franchises. Uh, like even the creator Don Mancini, he came out and said like he always wanted to try and do something different with the genre with every single film, and like that kind of reflects in almost every movie. Like the first movie was like kind of like a was supposed to be like basically a trip around the Chicago city. The second kind of moved it to the suburbs and kind of focused more on like the child Andy Barclay. The third moved the setting to like a military academy, which I believe the filmmakers for that one said that if you take away the doll, you basically have like the pilot for a Full Metal Jacket TV series. Bride of Chucky basically became like a road trip film. Seed of Chucky even that one tried to be different with being like a straight up comedy. And then Curse decided to go back to its dark roots and like give like a gothic tone. And then the seventh film, Cult of Chucky, was basically like coming. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. That one was like an asylum psychological horror thriller. But even the TV show Chucky, that one has also like changed the tone a bit to be like sort of like a coming of age like teen drama. And like not all of it has worked, but I will give credit where credit is due that like they've at least tried to do something different, where like they haven't tried to stick to the exact same mold. And that's what these two movies by Ty West have done, and I like that. There's only really a couple nitpicks that I had with this film. The first is that like again, the mother got lit on fire, and it's only for a few seconds, and Pearl like is able to put out the fire really quickly, but the mother is like really burned and scarred up, like looking like almost like Freddy Krueger at some parts. And the first thing I thought was like, well, she only burned for about 5 seconds. I doubt she'd look that bad. But then again, I've also never actually seen a burn victim in person before, and I've also really never seen anyone burn up in real time. So maybe it does happen like that, or maybe that was just like the movie's way of speeding it along. I don't know. And then the only other nitpick I had was at the very end of the film. At the very end of the film, there's like this kind of post-credit scene, right? And literally all it shows is like the writing of Los Angeles 1985, and then like the name Maxine with 3 X's. That's but like it was set in like the same way that like you see the word Hollywood in California, where it's like this all these huge letters, like that's what it is, and then like it just cuts to black, and that's it. And honestly, I was annoyed that I stayed around for the credits just for that. And even the person next to me, she told me that like they released the teaser on Twitter, which I didn't realize that because I don't have Twitter. But so they already released that on Twitter, but they decided not to extend it to like say maybe a full trailer for like the post-credits scene. Like, and it kind of reminds me of the post-credit scenes of the MCU Phase 2, and what I mean by that is, so we had 2 post-credit scenes in those films, right? These are more like how, so we'd get a mid-credit scene and then like an after credit scene. The mid-credits would be usually like about a minute long. It would actually like give you something to cling on to for the next film. But so the first post-credit scene in the MCU, like Phase 2, like they give you something to cling on to for the next film. Like say like with Thor: The Dark World, it showed the Collector talking about the Infinity Stones. But then the after credit scene would literally just show like Thor reuniting with Jane, and then it shows like that one beast from Jotunheim just frolicking around in a city. Or like in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, when the mid-credit scene showed Baron Strucker showcasing the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. But then the after credit scene would show like just Bucky Barnes in a museum. Stuff like that. And, well, the teaser showing Maxine was just like those after credit scenes. And it just annoyed me so bad that I waited to the end of the movie just for that. But it actually wasn't all that bad, because The highlight of my night actually was not the movie itself. It was actually the person sitting next to me. Um, Turns out she recognized me as a classmate that she used to have like during kindergarten, which I completely forgot about. Um, and funny thing was like we were both seeing the movie for the same thing, like basically kind of to review it. Um, so we had fun catching up, which she and I were both like joking and laughing during the film, and like everyone in the theater was kind of like just laughing and joking along too. Like this wasn't like when I saw Halloween Kills last year, where there were people in the back literally screaming and yelling at each other, and like they threw a tub of popcorn at each other or something. Yeah, that actually happened to the point where someone from security had to tell them to leave. But this wasn't like that. Like we were all just having fun, talking, laughing, joking. Um, Turns out a lot more people have that same dark sense of humor like I do. But but that friend and I, like, we had fun just catching up a bit during the credits because I completely forgot that she even existed, and that's kind of I wouldn't say that's the sole reason why I go back to movie theaters, but it's kind of one of those reasons because like if I didn't see that movie in the theater, then I probably would never remember her, and that's kind of why I still like going to movie theaters, just because like even if even if I didn't remember that person, like it was still fun talking with the person sitting next to me. Like I did the same thing when I saw the Sonic movies, but that's really why like people should still see movies in the theater, like because movies kind of like connect you with otherwise complete strangers. Like just the other day, I was walking around Walmart just looking in the movie aisle, and like I met this one dude who never knew him before, but we got to talking about like just movies and how the movie section at Walmart, like in every single store, by the way, just shrunk down over the last couple months. Like it used to be an entire like aisle, and now it just got relegated to like just one stand. Which unfortunately that aisle got taken up by the video games. But that's what I like about movies in general. Like when you go to a theater, like you'd be surprised just how well you can actually connect with people. Like if you actually like open up and just talk. And I guess there is one more thing that is a bit funny. Um, this movie, the movie took place in 1918, and uh, and I'm pretty sure this was intentional. Like there were a lot of people like wearing face masks and like in the film because of like that Spanish flu that was going around back then. And like I know for a fact that they did that as some type of statement about like COVID going on like even right now, because like there's still people that I know who are catching COVID, and like they have to self isolate, whether it's like at work or at school or like whatever. But I just found the whole thing funny that like they decided to set it in 1918, and they did the whole thing about Spanish flu. There was even a guy who it was the projectionist, I think, who he outright said like yeah, like with all these face masks going around, like you don't really know who's who anymore. Um, like that just caused both me and my friend sitting next to me and like a bunch of other people in the theater to just burst out laughing. But but like I was saying, like that that's kind of one of the reasons why I try to get out more, because like uh because the last few weeks actually have just kind of shown me how small the world really is. Like Like I sort of work with two people at my job where one of them knows my mom, and the other one lived in like the same area as my grandparents did. And she also technically knew of me through through like sorority talk with my sister who's part of another sorority. Like she knew of me that I worked at that job. She just like didn't actually know who I was. And but that's why I love about going to the movie theater, because like you really never know like who you'll meet or reunite. Sorry, but that's that's really all it for me. I meant to put this out as like one long video, but I had to stop it a couple times. So anyway, if you've watched X, and you're interested in seeing Pearl, I mean, hell, if you remember that it was coming out, because like I forgot about it until a coworker told me about it today. If you liked X, I think you'll like Pearl. Just keep in mind that it's not going to be the same cookie cutter story as the first one. Like this is basically like Pearl's origin story. Like you're gonna see a lot of like Easter eggs to the first film on like why Pearl is jealous of other people, especially why she hates blondes. If you guys remember that scene from X, uh, if you keep a close eye on the screen, like you'll actually see that one quote of like I will not accept a life that I do not deserve. That was spoken by Maxine at the end of X. That's shown on like one of those sort of like plaques that someone carries around during the opening, kind of like that doomsday person going like the end is nigh, kind of like that. But other than that, the film's great. Just again, keep in mind that like it's not going to be like a full-on slasher film, at least not at first. So again, if you liked X, I highly recommend you see this one. Just keep in mind that it's not going to be the same one. It's not going to be like X2 or XX. And like again, if you like horror movies, you're gonna like this. If you like slashers or even like just period pieces, like definitely check this one out. And if you liked the video, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Also, check out my friend's channel. Her channel name is Horror Aesthetics. She's also a really big fan of horror movies. I'm leaving her link down below, because when I tried looking it up originally, I didn't find it until she actually put it in my phone. But bye everyone, I'll see you guys in the next one.